Congratulations on winning the Masked Singer. The goldfish won the golden mask. It was very fitting. It was meant to be. I am wondering if you went on the show. I know on the show, on the finale, you were saying you consider yourself kind of an actress first, but I know your fans know you can sing like this, but I don't know if a lot of people knew you could sing like this. Was that any part of the reason why you wanted to go on this show, you know?
Not really, honestly. I mean, like I've sang live a lot. Like whether that's like in performances on stage or live televised musicals.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
you got to do it for yourself. If you're trying to prove people wrong or like put things in people's faces, you're doing it for the wrong reason. I wanted to do this for my fans. They've been asking for music or singing or anything in that world. And I was like, this would be a really interesting way to be able to give that to them and like see who the real fans are. And turns out they are all real fans.
Absolutely. Is there new music coming? Is this sort of a launch of, you haven't put a new album out since I think 2008, 2008?
Yeah,
Wow.
many, many moons ago.
Yeah.
Um, no, I always say life's about priorities, and that's just not the priority right now.
What are your priorities right now?
Um, a lot of things, but not music.
Oh, well, I enjoyed hearing you. I did like hearing you do all the songs that you did, particularly the Alanis cover on The Masked Singer. So I'm just pointing out there that I do think there's an audience for that if you ever do decide to prioritize that. Obviously,
Yeah.
you've got a lot going on. Since I'm doing this for a music side, I have to ask how you're known for some other outfits that you wear. How did you come to be known as the Queen of Coachella, a title you held for and still hold for many years?
I think I've just been going for a really long time. I
Did
think
you go
my
this
first
year?
I didn't
Okay.
know.
But tell me about the first time you went.
First time I think it was like '08.
Trying to think of who would have played that. Do you remember who played that year?
'08, '09. Like Paul McCartney played that year. Um,
The Cure? I think it played
I think The
Cure.
Cure. um, and yeah, I just became obsessed after that and went back every year. And then when they started doing the 2 weekends, I would go both weekends, and I just loved it. I don't know. It was just a good time. I love the music festival. I love music, and anytime I can run around on a grass field barefoot, I'm very happy.
I kind of feel like you were one of the first celebrity when like Coachella started to become really big around maybe that time and people started like taking pictures of celebrities going in their outfits. I kind of feel like you were one of the first style setters for Coachella. How did you come up with that your all your great looks that now I think a lot of women who go to Coachella probably emulate?
Um, I mean, I feel like I was just trying to emulate like my favorite era, which is like the '70s. I think of like Woodstock, and I think of people on the grass just like vibing out to their favorite musicians, and that's kind of like the ideal like vibe to me when it comes to music festivals.
Hmm.
So that was definitely what I was trying to emulate.
Um, just point it out there. Would you ever play Coachella? Maybe Nate, maybe, or have you? Have you ever like been a guest on someone's set?
No, I've never set foot on a stage at Coachella. But yeah, like at some point in life, that would be pretty iconic. I would love
I absolutely think if you could guest with anyone at Coachella, who would, if you guessed it on someone else's set, like who would you do it with?
I mean, like the first name that comes to mind is Radiohead, just because I'm like the biggest Radiohead fan.
Oh my God.
Um, but like I feel like I might faint standing next to Tom York.
I'm just gonna put that would be iconic. They played like I just wrote about how they played Coachella for the first time like 20 years ago, the 2004 Coachella. It would absolutely be iconic.
Yeah,
Um,
I just need them to go on tour again. I just need it.
Absolutely. Going back to that era, the era of the aughts, I guess. You talked about on The Masked Singer about how when you were first in the fishbowl, so to speak, thrust into the public eye, kind of, very sudden success, how that made you want to withdraw and kind of, take, and I understand why, because I look back at the media at that time. I actually was reminded about this when I watched Britney Spears documentary a couple of years ago. Like the stuff that like the media did back then, like TMZ, which was new, Perez Hilton, all the other kind of Perez style blog, that you would not get away with that now. And you were so young, and your peers, Lindsay Lohan, all of them were on the brunt of that. Like, how did that, take a toll on you when you were so young?
I mean, I always say that like fame doesn't change you, it just exposes you.
Mm,
And I was a very shy child growing up. And while I love being the center of attention when it comes to like performing and showcasing the thing that I have gifts in, when it comes to personal life, I really shy away, and I prefer to have my privacy, and I don't want my whole life broadcasted, and like kind of really do my best to shy away from that and keep my personal life as buttoned up as possible. But yeah, it was a very wild ride, and I feel like paparazzi had no boundaries, and I feel like it's gotten a little better now. I feel like there's been certain things put into place that allow for a slight bit more protection, but it was very, very invasive, and is like deep inside the little girl who's just shy and wants to like hide. It was an aggressive wake up call. But I think that just having to deal with it for so many years now, you evolve and you figure your way around it and how to cope and have a relationship with it that works for you personally. And I feel like I've found that.
absolutely. The internet was, I mean, it wasn't new, but it was still kind of social media was definitely kind of new around
Yeah, I mean,
2008.
like when I first came into the spotlight, like social media was not a thing. Like I remember after High School Musical came out, I just got my very first MySpace, and that was like the thing. Um, but yeah, it was just a different time.
Who were your top 8 friends? Do you remember?
I have no idea.
You did mention, well, when you were still in the skies, about like something on the Masked Singer about like encounters with exes ending up on TikTok or whatever, and how, but has there been any kind of with TikTok and other things in social media where things from your past, like particularly High School Musical, have sort of gone viral in like a good way? Like, are new people discovering High School Musical and other things you've done through social media?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like High School Musical is something that continues to live on throughout the generations. It surprises me still when kids come up to me, kids, saying that they love it and they've seen it a million times. And I'm like, it's just insane how it just continues to have legs and gets passed down through generation. I think that's like the power of musicals. I look back at some of my favorite musicals growing up as a kid, and they still totally hold the test of time. But yeah, like social media is its own beast. One that I try to not pay too much mind to. Like, I don't really find myself on TikTok unless I'm in a new place and I'm like trying to find a word of mouth restaurant to go to. Great for that. But when it comes to like the trends and all the other things, I'm kind of lost.
Actually, I just realized when you talk about High School Musical, how it keeps going. Is that why you, for your first song, did an Olivia Rodrigo song? Was there a connection there? I just no realized that because I was thinking
Yeah,
Vampire. Tell me, was that a nod to?
yeah, yeah. I was doing things the entire time to like let people know that it was me. Um, Being Vampire, the first song was by Olivia Rodrigo, who plays
Hmm.
Gabriella in the High School Musical TV show. So like my second song was "Come Back to Me," "Baby Come Back." My first single when I was like 16 years old had the sample of that song in it, and I was singing some of the same licks and riffs that I was singing when I was 16. There were a lot of clues along the way with all that.
Well, I think your fans figured it out just from your voice. I mean, if you looked, I know you don't go on social media much, but if you did at all, it was just like people kind of clocked it from episode one because of the voice, that you have. So, that which is flattering that you have such a recognizable voice. Um,
Totally.
Another thing you talked about, which was a clue I picked up on when you were talking about, kind of reinventing yourself and growing up in the public eye, is you talked about diving into edgier waters. And I remembered Spring Breakers was I assumed that was kind of a Spring Breakers clue. What memories do you have? I think people kind of forget, like you look at the cast of that film. I mean, that was iconic. Who was in that? What was the reaction to it at the time when that movie came out? Were your fans like on board, or were they like, what's going on?
I think that there was like a little bit of both. I think that like when you do things outside of the box, it's not going to be for everyone. But that's always been my cup of tea, like doing things that like might divide people a little bit. Cause I'm like, if you're doing broad strokes, then like, are you really even having a perspective or a point of view on it? And that was one thing that I really wanted to do. I've been a fan of harmonies. Like, people know me from High School Musical, but like my personal taste, I love like really dark films by offbeat directors, and I love like a really twisted ride. And when Spring Breakers came into my vision, I was like, this is something that I need to be a part of. So I was really honored and proud to be a part of that project. But it was a wild ride, and it was so much fun. I mean, the cast was phenomenal. I remember the script itself was quite small and like was filled out a lot by everyone, and like
Really? Did you
the
improv or did you?
oh yeah, a lot,
Um,
a lot of those scenes, some of those scenes like literally weren't even in the script. It would be Harmony coming over to us and be like, I have an idea for a scene. We're like,
wow,
okay. And then he would tell us, he's like, okay, now go. And he'd be like, whatever you want, we're across the street. And you're like, okay, so
that's so
but that
cool.
creative freedom was just like so amazing and something that like you don't always get. And
Wow.
that's the thing I love about independent features.
Did anyone at the time when you took that role, like anyone in your camp, or I would say, management or whatever, say that it was a bad idea, that it was like too off?
No, that was like the kind of parts that I always wanted to do. High School Musical came from left field and took me off of the course that like I originally saw for myself.
Oh,
A
wow.
course that like I was very grateful for, but it definitely wasn't what I had planned. So it was really nice. I feel like after doing High School Musical, I had to fight for the parts that I actually really wanted. I didn't want to keep playing like the girl next door, the like nice sweet girl. I was like, there's so much more depth and dimension in women that I want to explore. And yeah, I got to fight for those parts. And it was literally the Frozen Ground into Spring Breakers into Gimme Shelter, all three of which really demanded a lot of me, emotionally and physically and on my psyche. But it was like a journey that I was really proud of going on.
As well, you should be. And also, it reminds me when you talk about how you didn't always want to play the girl next door. I love the fact that in, one of your roles of a lifetime in Grease Live, you didn't play Sandy, you played Rizzo, which I think is the cooler part to do. And that was obviously a clue I picked up on The Masked Singer when you told, I know it's a very sad story, so I'm
Yeah.
not, but it was just so amazing that I mean, you would have done an amazing, you were amazing as Rizzo regardless, but the fact that you did it under circumstances of you're losing your father the night before, I mean, do you feel, and I'm sorry for your loss, do you feel like that was a turning point in your career? I mean, like the news headline the next day after Grease Live ran was really just about you being the star of it.
Oh,
I remember that.
oh, that's sweet. Did it feel like some crazy pivot? No.
Mm.
Um, did it feel like something I would always hold my head up high with and be proud of? Yes, of course. And like I knew in the moment that it would be a really beautiful way to honor my father. And that's what he would have wanted. But I don't know. I like it was a really special part, and like I was so supported in that moment by the cast and the producers and the team, and like that's something that will keep us all bonded forever.
And I imagine your father would have been gone a real hoot out of you playing the goldfish.
Nah, he would have loved it. My gosh.
Awesome. Well, I loved it as well. So congratulations to you. One quick question before I let you go, because we were talking about Coachella. Do you remember like your favorite outfit, favorite fit, as the kids say now?
um, I feel like the second year that I went, it's like I feel like it's so overplayed, but I wore like this vintage white crochet top that I had with like denim shorts, and I was like running around barefoot and like was wearing these feather earrings that I had made.
Oh,
Um, and I had a little tambourine, and yeah, I felt very free, and it was just like a very practical outfit.
mhm.
But I felt very in my 70s Woodstock of it all, so that probably takes home the prize.
More practical outfit than a goldfish outfit, but you wear it well no matter what. So
Yeah.
congratulations. Let's put on to Universe Coachella 2025. You surprise guest during the Radiohead set, or then the surprise guest during yours. You never know.
I mean, I have no words.